The bartender was still wiping down the spot where I'd slammed my shot glass when I walked up to the stranger in the dark shirt, fisted his collar, and pressed my lips to his. For half a second, he went completely still, like I'd startled something predatory out of sleep. Then his hand came up, slow and deliberate, fingers curling around the back of my neck with enough pressure to send heat racing down my spine. I wasn't this girl. On weekdays, I was Sophie Lane, overworked paralegal at Foster & Kline in Midtown. The one who fixed other people's messes and triple-checked citations until my eyes burned. On weekends, I slung drinks at a cramped bar in Astoria, just to keep up with rent, minimum payments, and the wire transfer I sent every month to my mother's clinic in Phoenix. My life was color-coded in Google Calendar blocks. Commute, work, shift, sleep, repeat. I was too tired, too broke, and too responsible for stupid dares. Which was exactly why, 3 shots of tequila into my first real night off in weeks, I'd said yes to one. He didn't kiss me like a stranger. He kissed me like he had all the time in the world, like my stupid dare was something he'd been expecting, waiting for. His mouth was firm, controlled, tasting faintly of expensive whiskey that had no business being served in a place like this. When his thumb brushed the pulse point just below my ear, my heart slammed against my ribs so hard I forgot how to breathe. My friends were shrieking somewhere behind me, but all I could feel was the solid heat of his chest, the way his other hand had settled at my waist like it belonged there. I pulled back, gasping, cheeks burning. His eyes were dark, half-lidded, and there was something almost amused in the way he looked at me, like I'd just done something far more interesting than I'd intended. "Sorry," I stammered, even though I wasn't sure what I was apologizing for. It was just The first gunshot cracked through the air like a whip. Glass exploded. Someone screamed. The neon beer signs above the bar shattered in a spray of sparks and colored shards. I stood frozen, my brain trying to catch up with what my ears were telling me. But before I could move, he spun me around and shoved me toward the back hallway. His body became a wall between me and the front windows, solid and immovable. "Get down!" His voice was low, calm, deadly, nothing like the chaos erupting around us. More gunfire. The wooden door frame beside my head splintered. My knees buckled, but he caught me. One arm locked around my waist as he hauled me deeper into the hallway. My hands clutched at his shirt, the fabric expensive under my fingers, and I could feel his heartbeat, steady, unhurried. Like this was just another Tuesday night. Men appeared from nowhere. I hadn't noticed them before. 3, 4, maybe 5 guys in dark clothes. All of them moving with the same fluid precision. They had guns. Actual guns. One of them kicked a table onto its side for cover. Another was speaking rapidly into a phone in a language I didn't recognize. The air reeked of gunpowder and spilled beer and my own fierce sweat. He pressed me against the wall, his chest a shield, his breath warm against my temple. "Stay behind me, don't move." "What the hell is happening?" My voice came out thin and shaky. He didn't answer. He was watching the front entrance, eyes sharp, calculating. One of his men called out something, and he responded in that same calm, commanding tone, like bullets weren't still punching holes in the plaster. Then, as suddenly as it started, the shooting stopped. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Red and blue lights strobed through the broken windows. The stranger, the man I'd just kissed on a stupid dare, straightened slowly, his hand still resting on my hip. When he looked down at me, there was something calculating in his expression, something that made my stomach drop. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sophie." It came out automatically. "Sophie Lane." "What?" "Sophie." He said it like he was testing the weight of it. "I need you to do exactly what I say. Can you do that?" I should have said no. I should have run. But my legs felt like water, and his hand was warm and steady at my waist. And when the first police officer burst through the door with his weapon drawn, all I could do was nod. The stranger's arm tightened around me. He turned us both to face the cops, his posture relaxed, almost bored. "Officers, thank God you're here. Everyone on the ground. Hands where I can see them." "We were just having a drink," the stranger continued, his voice smooth as silk. He didn't move, didn't flinch. "My girlfriend and I. We were in the back when the shooting started. We weren't really in the back when it started. Not exactly, but I was in no position to correct him with a gun still drawn 3 feet away. My girlfriend. The words hit me like a physical blow. I opened my mouth to correct him, to tell the officer with the gun that I'd never seen this man before tonight. That I'd kissed him on a dare 30 seconds before someone tried to kill us all. But his fingers tightened on my waist. A warning, subtle but unmistakable, and the words died in my throat. "Sir, I need you both to step apart and put your hands where I can see them." The stranger complied slowly, releasing me with what looked like reluctance. He raised his hands, palms out, and I did the same. My whole body was shaking now, adrenaline crashing through me in waves that made my teeth chatter. More officers poured through the door. Someone was shouting about ambulances. I could see Jess huddled near the overturned pool table, mascara streaking down her face, her eyes wide with shock when she spotted me. I tried to signal to her, "I'm okay, I'm fine," but an officer was already guiding me toward the back exit, away from the broken glass and the smell of gunpowder. They separated us immediately, me in one corner with a female officer taking my statement, him across the room with 2 detectives, his posture calm, his voice low and steady. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I watched the way the detectives' expressions shifted from suspicion to frustration. "Miss Lane?" The officer in front of me had kind eyes and a notepad. "Can you tell me what happened?" I should have told the truth right then. It would have been so easy. A dare, a kiss, wrong place, wrong time. I could have walked away clean. But across the room, the stranger was watching me, not obviously. Just a flicker of attention, a slight tilt of his head. His eyes were dark and unreadable, but there was something in them that made my pulse jump. A question, maybe, or a test. "My boyfriend and I were having a drink," I heard myself say. "We were in the back hallway when the shooting started. He protected me." The lie tasted like copper on my tongue. The officer wrote it down. "How long have you been seeing Mr. Moretti?" Moretti, so that was his name. 4 months, I said, picking a number that felt specific enough to be believable. "We keep things private. He travels a lot for work." "What kind of work?" "Import-export, hospitality consulting." The words came from somewhere outside myself, like I was reading from a script I'd never seen before. The officer's pen paused. She looked up at me, and something shifted in her expression. "Miss Lane, are you sure that's the statement you want to give?" The question hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. This was my chance, my last clean exit. "Yes," I whispered. "I'm sure." She closed her notepad with a snap that sounded too loud. "A detective will want to speak with you. Don't leave the city." They kept us another hour. Questions and more questions. My story and his story, checking for consistency. A hard-eyed detective named Ramos pulled me into a separate room. He had gray at his temples and the kind of tired eyes that had seen everything twice. "Sophie Lane." He sat across from me, arms crossed. 26, paralegal at Foster & Klein. No priors, clean record. He paused. "So what's a smart girl like you doing with Luca Moretti?" "He's my boyfriend." "Your boyfriend?" Ramos's smile didn't reach his eyes. "How'd you meet?" I repeated the story Luca had somehow planted in my head during those brief seconds before the police arrived. Gallery opening, Chelsea. 4 months ago. We kept it private because he traveled. "And your friends didn't know about him?" "I'm private about my relationships." "Right." Ramos leaned forward. "Let me tell you what I think happened. I think you walked up to a stranger on a dare. I think you kissed him, and I think 30 seconds later, someone tried to kill him. Then he saw an opportunity, a clean civilian with no ties to his world, and he made you his alibi." My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept my voice steady. "That's not what happened." "No?" He pulled out his phone, turned it to face me. Security footage from the bar. Me at the bar with my friends. Jess pointing at Luca's booth. Me walking over, the kiss, then chaos. "That looks like a dare to me, Miss Lane." I stared at the screen. He had me. He knew I was lying. And he was giving me one chance to come clean. "Luca and I like to keep the relationship playful," I said. My voice didn't shake. My friends don't know about him because we've only been seeing each other a few months. The dare was just bad timing. Ramos sat back, studying me. You know who he is? What he does? He works in import-export. He's a criminal, Miss Lane. One of the most powerful organized crime figures in Manhattan. And you just lied in a police statement to give him an alibi. That's a felony. The room felt too small, too hot. Are you charging me with something? Not yet. He slid a business card across the table. But when you're ready to tell me the truth, and you will be, call me, before it's too late. I took the card with numb fingers. When they finally let us go, Luca was waiting by a black SUV parked half on the curb. The back door was already open. One of his men, tall, broad-shouldered, with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow, stood beside it like a sentinel. Sophie, Luca's voice cut through the humid night air. Not a question, a summons. I should have called an Uber. Should have found Jess and gotten the hell out of there. Instead, I walked toward him, my cheap heels clicking on the broken pavement, my heart hammering against my ribs. Get in, he said quietly. We need to talk. I need to find my friend. Your friend left 20 minutes ago in a cab. I made sure she got home safely. He gestured to the open door. Please. The please sounded more dangerous than any threat. I climbed into the SUV, and the door closed behind me with a sound like a trap snapping shut. The driver pulled into traffic without waiting for instructions. We headed south, away from the flashing lights and the crime scene tape. Luca sat beside me, close enough that I could smell expensive cologne threaded with gunpowder. He didn't speak, just watched the city slide past the tinted windows like he had all the time in the world. I broke first. What the hell just happened back there? You lied for me. He turned to face me, and the full weight of his attention was like standing too close to an open flame. Why? You told me to. I told you to do what I said. I didn't tell you to commit perjury. His eyes were dark, unreadable. You could have told the truth, said it was a dare, a mistake. You would have walked away clean. And you, probably arrested. His tone was almost casual. Maybe not convicted, but it would have been messy. He studied me like I was a puzzle he hadn't finished yet. So I'll ask again, why did you lie for me? Because Ramos had looked at me like I was already guilty. Because Luca had shielded me with his own body when the bullets started. Like my safety wasn't negotiable. Because some reckless instinct I didn't recognize had whispered that telling the truth would be the bigger mistake. I don't know, I said finally. That's not good enough. Then I guess we're both disappointed. I crossed my arms, needing something to do with my hands. Where are we going? Your apartment. Queens, right? He pulled out his phone, typed something I couldn't see. But first, we need to get a few things straight. Like the fact that you called me your girlfriend without asking. Like the fact that you backed up that story without hesitating. He pocketed his phone. Sophie Lane, 26. Paralegal at Foster & Klein in Midtown. You bartend weekends at a place in Astoria to make ends meet. Student loans, credit card debt, and you send money every month to your mother in Phoenix for her medical expenses. The air left my lungs. How do you— I had someone look into you while we were being questioned. He said it like he'd ordered takeout. You're perfect. Perfect for what? Perfect civilian cover. He leaned back against the leather seat, arms stretching along the backrest. No ties to my world, no criminal history, no reason for anyone to question why I'd be with you. That kiss was random, impulsive. The kind of thing that looks real because it was real. My face burned. It was a dare. I know. That's what makes it perfect. His mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile, something sharper. No one plans a cover story that starts with a dare in a dive bar. It's messy, human, believable. So you're using me. Yes, no hesitation, no apology. And now you need to decide if you're going to let me. That's not a decision. You just dragged me into whatever the hell this is. Wrong. His voice hardened, cutting clean through my panic. You made a choice when you lied to that officer. You made another choice when you lied to Ramos. Those were your decisions, Sophie. Own them. Ramos was offering me a way out that looked a lot like prison. Luca was offering a way through that looked a lot like hell. I picked hell. What happens now? I asked, my voice barely steady. Now we make it look real. He pulled out his phone again and opened a notes app. Ramos is going to dig into your life. He'll talk to your boss, your co-workers, your friends. He'll look for cracks, so we make sure there aren't any. We barely know each other. Then we fix that. Right now. His thumbs moved over the screen. How did we meet? I don't. 4 months ago, he said, like he was reminding me of something that actually happened. You were at a gallery opening in Chelsea with someone from work. I was there for business. We started talking about a painting, something abstract, modern. You made me laugh. I asked for your number. He glanced up. First date? How should I know? Make something up. I thought about the men I'd dated before. The ex who'd used expensive restaurants and overpriced wine to make me feel grateful, small. Somewhere small, I said slowly, not flashy. A wine bar in the West Village. You wanted to talk, not impress. Luca looked up from his phone. Something flickered in his expression. Good. What else? You travel constantly for work, so we don't see each other every day. I have my own life, my job, my apartment. I'm not one of those women who gives up everything for a man. No, he said quietly. I don't think you are. The SUV pulled up in front of my building, a tired walk-up in Sunnyside that needed new paint and actual security. Luca took it in with a quick, assessing sweep. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., he pocketed his phone. I'm picking you up. I have work. Call in sick. I can't just... Sophie. He turned fully, his gaze pinning me in place. Someone tried to kill me tonight. They're going to want to know who you are. They're going to look into you the same way I did. And when they figure out you're just a paralegal who kissed me on a dare, they're going to wonder if you're a weakness they can exploit. Ice water flooded my veins. You're saying I'm in danger? I'm saying you made yourself part of my world when you backed up my story. His voice stayed calm, but there was steel under it. My world doesn't let people go easily. He reached past me to open the door. His arm brushed my shoulder, and that same electric jolt shot through me. 10 o'clock, don't make me come find you. I climbed out on shaking legs. The SUV disappeared into traffic before I reached my building's entrance. Inside my apartment, I locked the door, threw the deadbolt, then pressed my forehead against the cool wood. My phone buzzed. 7 missed calls from Jess, a dozen texts in our group chat. I couldn't deal with any of it. I walked to my bedroom and sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my hands. They were still shaking. I'd kissed a stranger on a dare. He'd turned out to be a criminal. I'd lied to the police to protect him. And now I was apparently his girlfriend. I didn't sleep. At 4 a.m., I gave up and made coffee that tasted like burnt regret, sitting at my tiny kitchen table with my laptop. I typed Luisa Moretti into the search bar. There wasn't much. Grainy society page photos from charity galas. Always in expensive suits, always with different women. Business licenses for restaurants and bars. One article about a suspected money laundering operation that went nowhere. And one photo from a crime scene 5 years ago. Yellow tape, covered bodies, and in the background, barely visible, a younger Luca talking to police. The caption mentioned a gang shooting. 3 dead. No charges filed. I closed the laptop, my stomach twisting. At 9:30, I texted my boss that I had food poisoning. At 9:50, my phone buzzed. I'm downstairs. No greeting, no question. Just a fact. I looked out my window. The black SUV was parked at a fire hydrant like it owned the curb. Luca stood beside the passenger door, hands in his pockets, looking up at my building as if he could see exactly which window was mine. I grabbed my bag and went down. You look tired, he said, opening the door. Funny how almost dying makes it hard to sleep. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. Get in. This time he sat across from me instead of right beside me. The driver eased into traffic toward Manhattan. Tell me about the shooting, Lucas said. Before it started, did you see anyone watching me? I was focused on my friends. And then on you. Close your eyes. His tone left no room for argument. Walk back through it. I sighed but did as he asked. We were doing shots. Jess was talking about her new job in Seattle. She pointed you out and dared me to kiss you. Did you notice anyone else watching me? I rewound the memory. past the tequila and the nerves. There were two guys at the pool table. They kept looking at your booth. One was tall, blonde. The other shorter, dark hair, bomber jacket. I opened my eyes. They left right after I kissed you, maybe a minute before the shooting. Luca's expression darkened. Spotters. They confirmed I was there and got out before it started. Someone was trying to kill you. Someone is always trying to kill me. It's part of the job. He leaned forward, forearms resting on his knees. But this was bold, public, a message. What kind of message? The kind that says they're not afraid anymore. His eyes locked on mine. Which means I need to send a message back. And you're going to help me. I'm not helping you with anything. You already did. You gave me an alibi, made yourself my girlfriend. He pulled out his phone again. Now we make everyone believe it. The SUV stopped in Tribeca. Glass, steel, and money. The doorman nodded to Luca like they were old friends. His penthouse was everything I expected and worse. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson. Modern furniture that screamed custom. Art that probably came with its own insurance policy. Sit. He gestured to a leather sofa. Coffee? Answers would be nice. He poured himself scotch from a crystal decanter. Here's what happens next. Ramos digs into your life. Talks to your boss, your coworkers, looks for inconsistencies. So we make sure our story is airtight. By lying more. By being consistent. He sat beside me, closer than necessary. We've covered how we met. Now we need details. Favorite restaurant? Luca? Where did I take you for your birthday? I don't make something up, he said. Because Ramos will ask, and our answers need to match. We spent 2 hours building a relationship that never existed. The weekend in the Hamptons we never took. The flowers he brought after a bad day. The fight we supposedly had when he missed a date because of work. Every detail tested, repeated, locked into place. Over the next few days, it didn't stay just a story. It became drills. Luca's people ran me through questions the way they said detectives would. Fast, overlapping, circling back to details to see if I flinched. I had to answer the same things 10 different ways without changing anything important. No fidgeting, no looking away. No nervous laugh when something hit too close. They made me hold eye contact while they lied to me on purpose, then had me point out every tell I saw. By the 3rd day, my throat was raw and my head hurt, but I could hear myself lying with the kind of smoothness that scared me a little. It felt like writing fiction, except this time, the plot holes could get me arrested. One more thing. Luca set his phone down and turned toward me. We need to sell this physically. My pulse jumped. What do you mean? A couple that's been together 4 months has a certain comfort level. The way you move around each other, how you respond to touch. He shifted closer, the couch suddenly too small. If anyone sees us together, they need to see a real couple, not strangers play acting. My mouth went dry. I'm not asking you to sleep with me. His voice stayed patient, steady. I'm saying if Ramos sees us, he needs to see something real. Then what are you asking? He lifted his hand slowly, giving me time to pull away. When I didn't, he brushed a strand of hair back from my face. His fingers trailed along my jaw, tilting my chin up. I'm asking you to stop flinching when I touch you. His thumb brushed my lower lip, sending a spark all the way down my spine. I'm asking you to look at me like you did last night. Before you knew who I was drunk. You weren't that drunk. His breath warmed my cheek. You wanted to kiss me. I could feel it. You're arrogant. I'm observant. His lips barely grazed my temple. Your pulse is racing, you're breathing faster, and you haven't pulled away. I should have stood up, told him to go to hell, walked straight to Ramos with the truth. Instead, I sat there, suspended in the space between his hand and his mouth, and my own terrible choices. This is insane, I whispered. Probably, but it's the world you're in now. He pulled back just enough to look me in the eye. So either commit or walk away and face Ramos alone. That's blackmail. That's reality. His hand stayed on my cheek, warm and steady. I'm not the good guy in this story, Sophie, but I will protect you. As long as you're mine, no one touches you. Not Ramos, not my enemies, no one. And if I'm not yours? Then you're on your own, and we both know how that ends. He was right. I'd already stepped off the ledge when I lied in that bar. Fine, I said. But I have rules. His mouth tugged at the corner. I'm listening. No lies about my family. If you need to know about my mother, you ask me. Agreed. I keep my job. I don't quit. I don't suddenly go part-time. I don't call in sick unless I'm actually sick. Done. And I'm not moving in here. I keep my apartment, my keys, my space. He studied me for a long beat, like he was recalibrating who I was. You're tougher than you look. I've had practice. Deal. He stood and offered his hand. Come on. I'll take you home. In the SUV heading back to Queens, my phone buzzed. A text from my boss lit the screen. Detective Ramos called asking about you. Call me ASAP. My stomach dropped. Lucas saw my face change. What is it? I showed him the text. Shit. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Marcus, I need you to do something. He rattled off instructions too fast to follow. My name, my firm, something about cooperation and legal counsel, then hung up. Your boss is going to get a call from my lawyer. We're going to explain that you're helping with an ongoing investigation and that your relationship with me is legitimate. That's a lie. It's damage control. His jaw was tight now, the easy charm gone. Ramos is moving faster than I expected. What does that mean? It means he's serious about flipping you. And he's going to make your life hell until you break. The SUV stopped at my building. Luca walked me to the door like a real boyfriend, one hand at the small of my back. Tomorrow night, he said. Dinner, somewhere public. Let Ramos see us together. Luca? He bent and pressed a quick, casual kiss to my forehead. The contact sent a ridiculous shiver down my spine. Get some rest. This is only going to get harder. He was gone before I could respond. Inside, I stared at my phone. Mr. Foster had called twice more. I couldn't avoid him forever. I dialed. Sophie. His voice was tight. We need to talk about Luca Moretti. And there it was, my career, hanging by a thread. Mr. Foster, I can explain. Detective Ramos told me Luca Moretti is connected to organized crime. He suggested your relationship with him could compromise this firm. He paused. Is it true? Are you involved with him? Yes. We've been seeing each other for a few months. Sophie, you're one of our best paralegals. But if your personal life puts our clients at risk, our reputation, it won't, I promise. My relationship with Luca is separate from my work. I hope that's true, because if Ramos comes back with more questions, or if this becomes a problem, we'll have to reevaluate your position here. The line went dead. I stood in my apartment, phone in hand, watching my carefully built life crumble. 3 years at Foster and Klein. 3 years of proving I was more than my debt and my background. And now Ramos was going to destroy it all. My phone buzzed again. Luca. How bad, I typed back. My boss just threatened my job. 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Then, I'm handling it. Trust me. Trust. What a joke. I barely knew him, but I was trusting him with my career, my freedom, my life. I spent the rest of the day jumping at every sound, checking my phone obsessively. At 5:30, Luca texted the address of a restaurant in the West Village, the same type of place we'd invented for our fake first date. I dressed carefully, a black dress that looked professional but not trying too hard. Minimal jewelry. I needed to look like a woman who'd been dating Luca for months, not someone playing dress-up in his world. The SUV picked me up at 7. Luca was already inside, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. How are you holding up? He asked. My boss threatened to fire me. How do you think I'm holding up? Your job is safe. My lawyer called Foster this afternoon. Explained that you're cooperating with an investigation and your relationship with me is legitimate. Another lie. A necessary one. He reached across, took my hand. His thumb brushed my knuckles. I told you I'd protect you. The restaurant was intimate, dimly lit, with small tables and excellent wine. Luca had reserved a corner booth where we could see the entire room. Strategic, I realized. He wanted to know who was watching. We'd barely sat down when I saw him. Detective Ramos, standing across the street, arms crossed, watching us through the window. "Don't look," Lucas said quietly. His hand covered mine on the table. To anyone watching, it looked affectionate. "He wants you to know he's there. Wants to rattle you. It's working." Then we give him a show. Luca leaned closer, his voice dropping. "Tell me about your mother." The question caught me off guard. "Why?" "Because if we're in a relationship, I should know. And because you said not to dig into her life without asking." I set down my wine glass. "She has MS, multiple sclerosis, diagnosed when I was 16. That's why I work 2 jobs. Treatments are expensive." "And your father?" "Gone. He left when things got bad. When it became clear Mom would need long-term care." The old bitterness crept in. "Turns out love is conditional when medical bills start piling up." Luca nodded slowly. "That's why you're so determined to stay in control. Your job, your apartment. You learned early that depending on anyone is dangerous. Very perceptive for a criminal. I'm a criminal because I'm perceptive." He squeezed my hand. "Ramos is going to use your mother as leverage. He'll threaten her care, her benefits. Anything to make you flip. He can, and he will, but I can protect her." His grip tightened. "I have people in Phoenix. They can make sure her doctors are paid. Her treatments continue, no matter what Ramos tries." I stared at him. "Why would you do that?" "Because you're mine now, and I protect what's mine." We finished dinner with Luca playing the perfect boyfriend, his hand on my knee under the table, leaning close to whisper something that made me laugh, every touch sending heat through me that I couldn't control. When we left, Ramos was still there, waiting. He stepped onto the curb in front of us. "Mr. Moretti, Miss Lane, funny running into you here." "Detective." Luca's voice was pleasant, bored. "Are you following us?" "Just happened to be in the neighborhood." Ramos's sharp eyes moved between us. "Wanted to check on Miss Lane, make sure she's doing okay." "I'm fine," I said. My voice was steadier than I felt. "Are you?" Ramos stepped closer. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're getting comfortable with a very dangerous man. My personal life isn't your business. It is when you lie in a police statement." He said it quietly, but the threat was clear. "I know when someone's scared, Miss Lane, and I know when someone's lying. So I'm giving you one more chance. Tell me the truth about your relationship with Moretti, and I'll make sure you walk away clean." Luca's hand tightened on my waist. Warning or support, I couldn't tell. "I already told you the truth," I said. "Luca and I have been together 4 months. We were at his bar when the shooting happened. That's all there is." The words came out smooth and steady, the way Luca's people had drilled into me. No fidgeting, no glance away, just clean eye contact, and a lie that sounded like the truth. Ramos's expression hardened. "You're making a mistake. Then it's my mistake to make." "No, Miss Lane, it's mine to fix." He pulled out a card, held it out. "When you're ready to stop lying, and you will be, call me, before it's too late." I took the card. Ramos walked away, and I felt the breath I'd been holding rush out. Ramos was offering me a way out that looked a lot like prison. Luca was offering a way through that looked a lot like hell. I picked hell. "You did well," Luca said quietly. I just lied to him again. "You maintain the story. That's what matters." He guided me toward the SUV. "He's going to keep pushing. You need to be ready." In the car, I stared at Ramos's card. My hands were shaking. "How do you do this?" I turned to face him. "Live like this? Constantly under pressure, always one step ahead?" "Practice." And by never caring about anyone enough to give them leverage. His expression was unreadable. "You're supposed to be leverage, Sophie." That's what I told myself. Perfect civilian cover. Easy to control, easy to let go. But you keep surprising me." He reached out, touched my face. "You lied for me without hesitation. You stood up to Ramos twice. You're stronger than you look." His thumb brushed my cheekbone, and I felt that dangerous pull from the bar. "This is wrong," I whispered. "Probably." His hand slid into my hair. "But you're using me too. Protection, money, power. You needed all of that the moment Ramos started threatening you." He was right. I hated it, But he was right. What happens when this is over? I asked. Is that what you want? To go back to your normal life? I didn't know. A week ago, my life had been simple, safe. Now I was lying to police, playing a role I didn't understand. And part of me didn't want to go back. I want to survive this, I said. Then stay close. He leaned in, breath warm against my ear. And stop fighting what you feel every time I touch you. His mouth found mine before I could respond. This kiss was different from the bar, deliberate, controlled, devastating. His hand fisted in my hair, holding me exactly where he wanted, and his tongue swept against mine with confidence that made my body arch toward him. Luca, I gasped. Say it again. His lips moved to my throat, teeth grazing my pulse. We shouldn't. We are. His hand slid up my ribs, thumb brushing just under my breast. You've been thinking about this since the bar. It was true. I'd been dreaming about it, hating myself for wanting him. But when his mouth found mine again, all those thoughts scattered. There was only heat and the way his body crowded mine against the leather seat. The SUV slowed. My building. Luca pulled back, breathing hard. His eyes were dark, intense. Tomorrow, dinner at my place, just us. Luca? Say yes, Sophie. I should have said no. Instead, I nodded. His smile was slow, dangerous. Good girl. Inside my apartment, I leaned against the door and touched my lips. They felt swollen, tender. This was a mistake. Everything about this was a mistake. But I couldn't stop thinking about tomorrow. The next morning, I found an envelope under my door. Inside was a cashier's check made out to my mother's medical center. 3 months of treatments. No note, no explanation. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Your mother's next appointment is confirmed. Transportation arranged. She won't know it came from me unless you tell her. L. I stared at the message. He was trying to buy my loyalty. But all I felt was confused gratitude and something dangerous. Trust. At work, Mr. Foster watched me with concern, but didn't ask questions. My coworkers whispered. And Ramos's card sat in my desk drawer like a loaded gun. At 3 p.m., someone appeared at my desk. A woman in her 40s, elegant, with cold eyes. Sophie Lane? She didn't wait for confirmation. I'm here on behalf of some associates who are concerned about your relationship with Luca Moretti. My blood went cold. Who are you? A friend or an enemy? That depends on you. She leaned closer. We know you were at the bar. We know you saved his life. And we know where your mother lives in Phoenix. The floor dropped out from under me. Stay away from my mother. Then stay away from Moretti. Break it off, disappear, or we'll make sure your mother's next treatment is her last. She straightened. You have 48 hours. She walked out, leaving me frozen at my desk. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone, called Luca. Someone just threatened my mother. My voice was high, panicked. A woman. She said I have 48 hours to leave you, or they'll hurt her. Where are you? Work. Stay there. I'm sending someone. The line went dead. 20 minutes later, the man with the scarred eyebrow from Luca's security appeared. Miss Lane, I'm Marco. Mr. Moretti sent me to take you somewhere safe. I'm not going anywhere until I know my mother is protected. She already is. Mr. Moretti has people at her facility. No one gets near her. He gestured to the elevator. Please, we need to move. I grabbed my bag and followed him. The SUV took me to Luca's penthouse. He was on the phone when I arrived, speaking rapid Italian, his expression darker than I'd ever seen it. He hung up when he saw me. Your mother is safe. I have 4 men at her facility. No one gets in without clearance. Who were they? The woman who threatened me? Viktor Sokolov's people, Russian Bratva trying to push into my territory. His jaw was tight. They ordered the shooting at the bar. Now they know you're my weakness. So this is my fault? This is my fault. He crossed to me, gripped my shoulders. I made you my alibi. I dragged you into this. And now they're using you against me. Then let me go. Tell them we broke up. I'll disappear. No. His voice was steel. They've already seen you, already know your face, your name, where your mother lives. Walking away won't protect you now. It'll just make you an easier target. Then what do I do? You stay with me. You let me protect you. His hands framed my face. And you trust that I will end this. How? By giving them what they want. A meeting, a negotiation. His smile was cold. And a trap. I'm going to make them confess to ordering the shooting. Record every word. Then hand it to Ramos and let the NYPD deal with them. His eyes locked on mine. But I need you to help me. How? By being exactly what you are, my weakness, the girlfriend who makes me soft. He leaned closer. Victor will see you at the meeting and think he's already won. That's when he'll get cocky. That's when he'll confess. This is insane. It's the only way to end this. Clear your name, get Ramos off your back, protect your mother. His thumb brushed my cheek. I won't let anything happen to you. I looked into his dark eyes and saw the truth. He meant it. He would burn his world down to keep me safe. Okay, I whispered. I'm in. His smile was fierce, possessive. That's my girl. But even as he pulled me close, even as I felt safe in his arms, one thought kept circling. I was falling for a man who'd dragged me into hell, and I wasn't sure I wanted to climb back out. The meeting was set for 2 days later at a Russian restaurant in Brighton Beach. Neutral territory, Victor insisted. Luca spent those 2 days preparing like we were going to war. His tech guy, a nervous kid named Danny who couldn't have been older than 20, set up a wire, small, undetectable, hidden in a necklace Luca gave me. It's beautiful, I said, touching the delicate silver chain. It's insurance. Luca fastened it around my neck, his fingers brushing my skin. Every word Victor says gets recorded and uploaded to a secure server. By the time we leave that restaurant, Ramos will have everything he needs. And if Victor searches me, he won't. You're just the girlfriend. Harmless. His hands settled on my shoulders. That's what he'll think anyway. We rehearsed my role until I could play it in my sleep, nervous, out of my depth, wanting Luca to make the deal so we could go back to our normal life. Olivia, one of Luca's people, quizzed me on Victor's name, his reputation, which of Luca's businesses he'd want, until the answers came out flat and automatic instead of shaky. Marcus made me practice walking into the room 3 different ways, too scared, too stiff, and finally the right balance of rattled but holding it together. I was supposed to be the reason he'd gone soft, the weakness Victor could exploit. That was my part, and I knew my lines. The irony was that it didn't feel like acting anymore. Remember, Lucas said the night before the meeting. We were in his penthouse. The city lights spread out below us like fallen stars. You're scared. You want this over. You want me safe. I don't have to act scared, I said. I am scared. He pulled me close, his arms solid around me. I won't let anything happen to you. You can't promise that. Watch me. He tilted my chin up. After tomorrow, this is over. Victor goes down. Ramos closes his investigation. Your mother stays safe. You get your life back. And us? The question hung between us. Us, like we were real. Like this wasn't all built on lies and survival. That's up to you, he said quietly. After tomorrow, you can walk away. Go back to your apartment, your job, your normal life. I'll make sure you're protected. No one will touch you. Or you stay. His eyes were dark, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. With me. Knowing exactly what it means. My heart pounded. What does it mean? It means danger. It means being with someone who has enemies. It means looking over your shoulder. He cupped my face. But it also means being with someone who will protect you with everything he has. Someone who... He stopped, struggling. Someone who doesn't want to let you go. I should have been thinking about the danger, the complications, the fact that we barely knew each other. Instead, all I could think about was the way he'd shielded me during the shooting. The check for my mother, the way his hands felt on my skin. Ask me after tomorrow, I whispered. He kissed me then, slow and deep and thorough, his hands sliding into my hair. When he pulled back, his breathing was ragged. Stay tonight, he said. Don't go back to your apartment. Stay here. With me. I should have said no. Should have kept some distance. Some piece of myself separate from him. Okay, I said instead. He took my hand and led me to his bedroom. This time there was no urgency, no desperate need. Just slow, deliberate touches. His hands learning every curve. His mouth tracing paths across my skin. When he finally moved inside me, it felt like something breaking open in my chest. Look at me, he commanded softly. I did. His eyes were intense, focused completely on me. You're mine, he whispered. Say it. Yours. And in that moment, I meant it. After, we lay tangled together, his hand tracing lazy patterns on my back. My brother Marco, he said quietly. The one who was shot. He used to tell me I was too careful, too controlled, that I'd end up alone because I never let anyone close. Was he right? He was. Until you kissed me on a dare. His arms tightened around me. You weren't supposed to matter, Sophie. You were supposed to be a tool, a cover story. But somewhere between that lie to the police and now, you became something else. What? Something I can't afford to lose. I fell asleep in his arms, feeling safer than I had in years. It should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like coming home. The next morning, we drove to Brighton Beach in tense silence. Luca had left his usual security detail behind. Victor's condition. It had to look like he was coming in good faith, willing to negotiate, but I knew better. Under Luca's jacket was a gun, and backup was already positioned 3 blocks away, waiting for his signal. The restaurant was small, dimly lit, mostly empty except for Victor's men. He was waiting at a corner table, a broad man with cold eyes and a smile that made my skin crawl. 2 of his men flanked him. Luca's hand was steady at my back as we approached. Victor. Moretti. Victor's eyes slid to me, assessing. And this must be the girlfriend, the one from the bar. Sophie, Luca said. This is Victor Sokolov. I managed a nervous smile, exactly as rehearsed. Nice to meet you. Sit, sit. Victor gestured expansively. Let's talk business. We sat. Under the table, Luca's hand found mine. Reassuring, or warning, maybe both. So, Victor said. You want to make a deal. I want this war to end, Luca replied. The shooting put Sophie in danger. That's not acceptable. Victor's smile widened. You care about this one, more than the others. Yes. Luca's hand tightened on mine. Which is why I'm willing to negotiate territory. I'll give you the docks in Red Hook. You stop hitting my businesses. Red Hook is good, but I want more. Victor leaned back, studying us. I want 3 of your clubs in Manhattan, and your supplier connections. That's too much. Is it? Victor's eyes gleamed. Or maybe you're just too soft now, too worried about your pretty girlfriend to think straight. Luca's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent, playing his role perfectly. Victor loved an audience almost as much as he loved power, and right now, he thought he had both. Before the shooting, Victor continued, you would have killed me for demanding this much. Now you just sit there and beg for peace. He laughed. One civilian girl, and suddenly the great Luca Moretti is weak. My palms were slick under the table, but my voice, when I forced out a shaky little laugh on cue, sounded exactly like it had in the rehearsals. Scared enough to sell it, steady enough not to crack. My heart hammered. This was it. The moment we needed. So you admit you ordered the hit, Luca said quietly. Victor shrugged. Of course I did. You needed to be reminded you're not untouchable. And look, it worked. Here you are, negotiating like a frightened merchant instead of a boss. Hidden against my skin beneath the neckline of my dress, the necklace captured every word. I'm not frightened, Luca said. No? Victor's smile turned cruel. Then maybe I should give you a reason to be. Maybe I send my men to visit your girlfriend. Show you what happens when you care about someone in this business. Luca's hand left mine. His whole body went rigid. Threaten her again and we're done here. See? This is your problem, Moretti. You got soft. Victor leaned forward. The shooting worked better than I thought. One random girl kisses you, and suddenly you're worried about civilians, about consequences. You're not the man you used to be. You're right, Luca said. His voice was cold, controlled. I'm not. I'm smarter. Sophie, show him. My hands shook as I pulled the necklace from under my dress, held up the small microphone. Victor's face went white. Every word, Lucas said, recorded and already uploaded. By now, Detective Ramos has a copy. So do the feds. And my lawyers. Victor lunged across the table, but Luca was faster. He shoved me behind him, and suddenly the restaurant wasn't empty anymore. Luca's men flooded in through the back door, 10, 12, more, all with guns drawn. Victor's men reached for their weapons, but they were outnumbered 3-1. Don't, Luca said softly. You lost. Accept it. Sirens wailed outside. The NYPD was already there, right on schedule. Victor's face contorted with rage. You're dead, Moretti. You and your little whore. Luca hit him. One solid punch that dropped Victor to the floor, blood streaming from his nose. Never, he said quietly, dangerously. Call her that again. The police stormed in. Detective Ramos was with them, his expression grim but satisfied. He looked at Luca, at Victor bleeding on the floor, at me standing there with the wire still around my neck. Mr. Moretti, he said. Miss Lane, we'll need your statements. Of course, Detective. Luca's voice was perfectly calm. We're happy to cooperate. Ramos's eyes narrowed, but he nodded. We'll start with Mr. Sokolov. Attempted murder, terroristic threats, extortion. He's going away for a long time. Victor was dragged out in handcuffs, still shouting threats in Russian. His men followed. The restaurant emptied, leaving just us, Ramos, and a handful of officers. You played me, Ramos said to Luca, not angry, almost impressed. Used my investigation to set your trap. I gave you Victor Sokolov on a silver platter. Complete confession, recorded and admissible. You're welcome, Ramos turned to me. And you, Miss Lane, you lied to me, multiple times. I should charge you with obstruction. My stomach dropped. Detective. But you also helped bring down a major organized crime figure. He pulled out his notebook, tore out a page, and handed it to me. It was the statement I'd given the night of the shooting. Consider this your last warning. Next time you get mixed up with someone like Moretti, call me first. He walked out, and I knew he'd stopped seeing me as a criminal to crack, and started seeing me as someone who'd helped him win. I sagged against the nearest table, adrenaline crashing through me in waves. Is it over? Is it really over? Luca pulled me into his arms. It's over. Victor's going to prison. Ramos has what he needs and no reason to keep investigating. Your mother is safe. Your job is safe. You're safe. Relief hit me so hard my knees buckled. He caught me, held me up. You did perfectly, he murmured into my hair. You were so brave. I was terrified. I know, but you did it anyway. He pulled back, his hands framing my face. Come on, let's get you out of here. Outside, the cold November air felt like freedom. News vans were already arriving. Camera crews setting up. Luca's driver pulled up, and we climbed into the familiar safety of the SUV. Where to? The driver asked. Luca looked at me. Your apartment or home? Home. He meant his penthouse. And the way he said it made something in my chest tighten. Home, I said quietly. His smile was brilliant. Back at the penthouse, he poured me tea, wrapped me in a blanket, and sat with me on the couch while I finally processed everything that had happened. The shooting, the lies, the danger, Victor's threats, and somehow, impossibly, we'd survived it all. What happens now? I asked. Now you choose. He set down his mug, turned to face me fully. I meant what I said last night. You can walk away, go back to your life. I'll make sure you're protected, that no one ever bothers you again. It'll be like none of this happened. Or you stay, with me, for real this time. His eyes searched mine. Not because you're scared, not because you need protection, but because you want to. My heart was pounding. You're asking me to be your actual girlfriend. I'm asking you to build something with me. Something that started with a lie but turned into... He stopped, shook his head. I don't know what to call it, but I know I don't want to lose you, Sophie. I thought about my tiny apartment in Queens, my paralegal job, my careful, controlled life that had been slowly suffocating me for years. Then I thought about Luca's arms around me, the way he'd protected me, the promises he'd kept. I have conditions, I said. His mouth curved. Of course you do. I keep my job, my own money, my independence. I'm not giving up who I am for you. Agreed. No more lies about my mother. You want to help her, you ask me first. Done. And if I ever want out, really out, you let me go. No threats, no retaliation. Clean break. He was quiet for a moment. That's the hardest one. But yes, if you want out, you walk. I won't stop you. I searched his face for the lie, the manipulation. I only saw honesty and fear that I'd choose to leave. Then I'm staying, I said. Not because I'm scared, not because I need you, but because I want to. His smile was devastating. He pulled me into his lap, kissed me until I couldn't breathe. You're mine now, he murmured against my mouth. For real this time. Yours, I agreed. But Luca, yeah? You're mine too. That's how this works. His laugh was low, surprised. Yeah, I am. He carried me to his bedroom, and this time when we came together, it wasn't survival or adrenaline or fear. It was choice, raw and real and ours. After, lying tangled in his sheets with the city lights painting patterns on the ceiling, I finally understood what it meant to choose your own fate, even if that fate looked dangerous. Even if it came with complications and enemies and a man who operated in shadows. Tell me something true, I whispered. He was quiet for a moment. I've never brought anyone to meet Marco, my brother, but I want to take you, next Sunday. My throat tightened. Yeah? Yeah. His arms tightened around me. I want him to meet the woman who walked into my bar on a dare and changed everything. I didn't change anything. I just kissed you. You did more than that. He pressed his lips to my temple. You made me want something besides survival. You made me want a future. I turned in his arms, looked up at him. What kind of future? The kind where I wake up next to you, where I come home to you, where you're not just my cover story or my weakness, but my partner. His hand cupped my face. Is that something you want? 3 weeks ago, I would have said no. I would have run from a man like Luca Moretti, dangerous, powerful, operating outside every rule I'd lived by. But I'd kissed him on a dare. He'd turned me into his alibi. And somehow, in the chaos and danger and lies, we'd built something real. Yes, I said. That's what I want. His kiss was soft, reverent, like I was something precious instead of just a paralegal from Queens who'd made one reckless choice. But maybe that was the point. Maybe one reckless choice was all it took to change everything. 3 months later, I stood in Luca's penthouse, our penthouse now, looking out at the city. I'd kept my apartment as backup, kept my job at Foster & Klein, kept my independence. But most nights I was here, with him. It wasn't easy. His world was complicated, dangerous, full of shadows I was still learning to navigate. But it was real. We were real. I heard the door open behind me. Luca's arms slid around my waist, pulling me back against his chest. Thinking? He asked. About that night. The dare. Regret it? I turned in his arms, looked up at the man who'd become my world. Dangerous, powerful, devoted. Mine. Not even a little bit. He kissed me, slow and deep. And in the warmth of his arms, with the city spread out below us like a promise, I finally understood what it meant to choose your own fate. I'd kissed a stranger on a dare. He'd turned me into his alibi. And somehow, against all logic and reason, we'd built something real from the wreckage. This was my life now, dangerous and beautiful and utterly unpredictable, and I wouldn't change a single thing. 1 year later, the first time I saw the house on the cliff, I understood why Luca had fought so hard to keep this world and everything in it. Sicily was all sharp sunlight and sea wind and stone that had seen 1,000 years of bad decisions. The house itself was low and pale against the sky. Terracotta roofline, whitewashed walls, bougainvillea bleeding purple along one side. Below us, the water crashed against rocks in a rhythm that felt older than both of us put together. You're staring, Luca murmured, his hand warm at the small of my back. I'm allowed, I said. You told me this place was a ruin. It was. His mouth curved. You weren't supposed to see it until it was finished. You renovated a cliffside villa in secret and you think I'm the dramatic one." He laughed, low and satisfied. "Come on, they're waiting." Inside, the air smelled like coffee and lemon oil and something simmering with tomatoes and garlic. A woman I recognized from photos, Luca's aunt, waved a wooden spoon at us and said something rapid-fire in Italian that sounded suspiciously like a blessing and a threat layered together. And there, in the sunlight streaming through the open doors to the terrace, sat Marco. I'd seen him on video calls. I'd heard his voice through Luca's phone, but seeing him in person, alive, upright, a cane resting against his chair instead of an IV pole, made my throat tighten. He looked like Luca would in 10 years. Same dark eyes, same sharp mouth, laugh lines etched deeper at the corners. "So," he said, pushing to his feet as we approached, "this is the famous paralegal who ruined my brother's life." My steps faltered. He means improved," Luca said dryly. "He just doesn't know how to say thank you like a normal person." Marco studied me for a beat too long. Then he held out his arms. "Come here, Trouble." I stepped into his hug before I could overthink it. He smelled like soap and cigar smoke and sea air. "Benvenuta in familia," he said into my hair. "Welcome to the family." When he let me go, his eyes flicked to Luca, then back to me. "He talks about you like you're his religion," Marco said. I had to see for myself. Disappointed, I asked, because the last year had taught me that the only way to deal with men like these was to meet them head-on. He grinned. He could have chosen worse. We spent the afternoon on the terrace, the three of us tucked around a weathered table, while the sea threw itself against the cliffs below. Luca translated when my Italian failed. Marco asked about my mother, about New York, about whether I was still working at the firm, or if Luca had finally convinced me to retire and run a real empire. "I'm still a paralegal," I said, spearing a piece of grilled fish. "And I still send my mother money that doesn't come from anything I wouldn't put on a tax return." Luca's hand brushed my knee under the table. It was a reminder and a promise. "I know your lines. I won't cross them." "She keeps me honest," he told Marco. "Annoying as hell." "Necessary," Marco corrected. "It's always the honest ones who save us in the end." For a moment, the three of us were quiet, the weight of everything unsaid threading between us. The hospital, the bullets, the deal that had gone wrong and put Marco in a bed for 6 months. "Victor's hearing is next week," Marco said eventually. "You going back for it?" "Ramos wants my statement on record," I said. Apparently, courts like to hear from the civilian girlfriend who wore a wire. Marco's eyebrows rose. "You wore a wire to a sit-down with Sokolov. You're crazier than he is." "She picked the right side," Luca said. His thumb stroked a slow pattern against my skin. "That's all that matters." "What about you?" I asked Marco. "You okay with this?" I gestured vaguely around us. The house. The island. His brother. Me. He considered me for a long, assessing beat. "You knew who he was," he said finally. "You saw the worst of it. And you stayed. That makes you either stupid or brave." "Marco," Luca warned. Marco shrugged. "Relax. She knows what she signed up for." He leaned forward, meeting my eyes. "Just remember the rule, Sophie. In this life, you can't save everyone. You choose your one person, and you save them. Over and over. Even when they don't deserve it." My gaze slid to Luca. He was already looking at me. "I know who my one person is," I said softly. Later, when the sun had bled itself into the horizon and the air had gone cool, Luca and I walked down the narrow path carved into the cliff. The rocks were warm under my sandals. The sea wind tugged at my hair. "You handled Marco," Luca said. "I'm impressed. I like him." I nudged his shoulder with mine. "He's bossy. It feels familiar." He huffed out a laugh, then sobered. "Thank you for coming, for being here, for all of it." "You flew me across an ocean to meet your family," I said. "That's not nothing." He stopped walking, turning so the last of the light cut across his face. For once there was no city around us, no SUV, no men with guns pretending to be pedestrians. Just him and me and the wind and the sea. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked quietly. "The dare, the lies, me." Somewhere behind us, The house glowed warm against the dark. Somewhere in Arizona, my mother was arguing with a nurse about her physical therapy schedule. Her treatments paid for months in advance. Somewhere in New York, Ramos was building a case that had nothing to do with me anymore. I stepped close enough that I could feel Luca's heart beat against my chest, steady and sure. "You know what I regret?" I asked. "That I didn't think to ask what your name was before I kissed you." He blinked. "Out of everything." "If I'd known," I said, crowding him back against the rock wall, "I could have saved myself a lot of time Googling dangerous men in expensive suits owning half of Manhattan the next morning." He laughed, the sound low and surprised, and I felt it all the way through me. "Seriously," I went on. "No, I don't regret it. Any of it. It was hell, yes, but it was my hell, my choice." His hand slid to my hips, fingers curving into the familiar shape of me. "You terrify me," he said. "Good," I whispered. "Keeps you sharp." He kissed me then, slow and deep, the way he did when there was nowhere we had to be and no one we had to impress. The sea crashed below us like applause. When we finally pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine. "I've been thinking about something," he said. "That's dangerous. Not as dangerous as this." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. My heart stopped. "Luca." "Before you panic," he said quickly, "it's not what you think." "Then maybe don't lead with the jewelry presentation." He smirked and flicked open the lid. Inside, on black velvet, lay a simple silver band. No diamonds, no flash. Just a narrow strip of metal etched with tiny, careful lettering on the inside. I slid it out and squinted. "Alibi," it read. On the other side, "Dare." I swallowed hard. "Subtle." "It's not a proposal," he said. For once, his voice sounded almost unsure. "It's a reminder of how this started, and what we chose anyway." Warmth pooled in my chest, heavy and bright. "Which finger?" I asked. "Whichever you want." His mouth twitched. "Or none. I just wanted you to have something that's yours, that no one else understands unless you tell them." I slid the band onto my right hand, middle finger. It fit like it had been made for me. "Looks good," he said softly. "You know this means I get to buy you something equally sentimental and mildly threatening, right?" "Can't wait." We climbed back up the path hand in hand. Inside, the house hummed with low music and distant conversation, the kind of normal that had once felt impossible. Later that night, curled against Luca in a room that smelled like salt and linen and his cologne, I lay awake listening to the sea and his breathing and my own heartbeat finally matching their pace. "Tell me something true," I said into the dark. He shifted, tightening his arm around me. "I'm listening." "If I hadn't kissed you," I said, "do you think we would have met anyway?" He was quiet for a long time. "Maybe," he said finally. "New York is small when you're looking for trouble, and you were overdue." I elbowed him lightly. "I'm serious." "So am I." His lips brushed the back of my neck. "But here's the thing, Sophie. I don't care about the version of my life where you didn't walk into that bar. I only care about this one. This very dramatic, explosion-heavy, occasionally felonious one." "This very dramatic, explosion-heavy, occasionally felonious one," he agreed. "Where you call me on my bullshit and insist on paying your own half of dinner and wear my ring with Alibi, scratched into it just to annoy me." I smiled into the pillow. "It's growing on you." "A little," he admitted. I closed my eyes, letting the rhythm of his breathing and the distant roar of the sea pull me under. I'd kissed a stranger on a dare. He'd made me his alibi. We'd walked through hell together and somehow come out the other side with something real, sharp-edged and imperfect, and ours. If there was another universe where I'd finished my shot, laughed off Jess's dare, and gone home to my tiny apartment alone, I hoped that version of me was okay. But I wouldn't trade places with her for anything.